Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to today's video. Today is episode 136 of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me, not joining me as always. Remleiz is unfortunately not with us today. He is rather unwell. I believe he's got COVID from what he's told me, and he's not able to make the recording today. So we wish him a speedy recovery from Grandfather Nurgle's clutches once again, and we hope to have him back on the show before too long. But in the interest of making sure we had a full roster for today, I went and got some friends who you will know very well, some very good friends of the show, to join me. Ladies, gentlemen, Xenos of all ages, I will start with the second and arguably better half of 40k Theories, Naerina.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone.
I can say that because Roman's in here and he won't punch me.
Well, don't you worry. I'll get you doing some head desks, even if he's not over here.
Accurate. And our second guest is someone who you'll know all too well, the perfect person to draft in when you need some cover. I give you Wib.
Hello. It's me, the supply teacher.
It's really weird doing a double guest intro. But
how do you feel?
But yes, it's good to have... It's fine. But yes, thank you both of you for coming on and joining me today. It's very much appreciated.
Not a problem at all. It is a pleasure to be here.
Indeed.
Absolutely. And we have a lot to discuss with the run-up to Christmas now truly underway. We have got Christmas models to discuss, Christmas Battleforces, and a bunch of pretty other stuff as well, because we're recording this on the Saturday, which I promise you was not deliberate, because it means we get to talk about the results of Armies on Parade, but we will get there. I think there's one of two places we can start, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the first one out of the way, because if I don't talk about it right away, then I don't think I'm doing my job. On the 19th of November, Games Workshop posted an article on Warhammer Community, which I'm sure has made the rounds on all the socials by this point. It was primarily created in response to events at a tournament in Spain, where an individual wearing the emblem of a known... I'm going to use a term here that will probably mean that YouTube doesn't like this. A known neo-Nazi group was in attendance and wearing their attire, and nothing was done by the organisers for one reason or another. Games Workshop have responded to that and released a statement making it very clear that in future in their own stores, and they will collaborate with any events they work with, such behaviour and such people are not welcome at those events, and they will be ejected. They don't want their money, they don't want them in the Warhammer community, and that's the end of that. Now, we didn't talk about, back on Podcastus a long time ago, the Warhammer is for everyone statement. Some people very much politically charged that statement, and we stayed out of it. We didn't want to talk about it. We agreed with the statement in general, but it left a grey area and people got very angry. I do not believe this statement says that at all. There is a difference between having a different political ideology to someone. That is fine. But this is not it. This is simple. You represent a group that would do things that I'm not going to repeat. You know your World War II history. You will know what I would say at this point. You are not welcome on this channel. You are not welcome in this community. And you can leave. If you unsubscribe, you leave me an angry hate comment, I don't care. Go ahead. I do not care.
Well said.
Well said. That's sort of the stance we've had for a while, like, as regards this kind of stuff, because it's like, one of the nice things about GW actually talking about this is that there is a problem with groups trying to appropriate 40k, because at the end of the day, it is based on political satire from the 80s. It wasn't subtle, and over time, as it's become
almost mainstream,
it's become more mainstream. It's become a property that is, it's a brand. And as they start to merchandise that and stuff, the actual satire at the heart of it has become a bit blurry, shall we say.
Agreed.
And there is definitely an argument which I myself have made on multiple occasions, and many people have made, like, say, on Twitter and stuff, that this is good. But also there is a conversation to be had about that if Games Workshop, this is the stance they want to take, they might want to stop treating, because they explicitly say, the Imperium is driven by hate. They are not the heroes. Well, you do make a line called Space Marine Heroes. Like, maybe don't do things like that if that's the stance.
And you make a t-shirt called Born to be a Space Marine.
Ooh, yeah.
That t-shirt is uncomfortable on so many levels.
Oh, yeah.
Even forgetting everything else, this child has been born to be a psycho-indoctrinated, steroid-jacked, gene-enhanced, brainwashed killbot. That's not something you want to put on a child's t-shirt.
And like, the conversation is not like a completely simple thing. It's not like, it gets into like, responsible representations of heinous things in media. It's not a simple think good, think bad thing. It's a conversation to be had, and it's complicated. No one's saying it's not. But all I'll say is, and I mentioned this to the pair of you just before we recorded, I once read an article by a white supremacist saying how it was in the Warhammer 40,000's world was a thing that helped sell fascism to him, because he saw this fictional world that used these ideas and was, in his eyes, flourishing. Because he's a fascist and an idiot, so he doesn't know how to read media. But when that kind of thing can happen, if it happens, even if that's just a one isolated thing, that's still one too many, And it's a complicated thing, but the nice thing is that, as you mentioned, Games Workshop not only were explicit about it, like, for a big company to say literally, we don't want your money, thank you. Most of them are not brave enough to say that. If a company can be brave, they can't, but whatever. But the fact that they also had, this is what to do about it if you have a problem in your in your particular like club or whatever, talk to us, we can help. We'll see what they actually do in the future, if that actually turns out to be useful. But the fact that they are seemingly taking a proactive thing to it, that's positive. Like, whatever your stance, like, I make no bones about it. I've been very down on Games Workshop recently for a lot of reasons, but like, I feel this is unambiguously good. Fascism bad. If that is a controversial statement to you, feel free to not have anything to do with me. I also don't want your money.
To come back to that Warhammer is for everyone statement. And I believe it is supposed to be interpreted, Warhammer is for everyone, regardless of who you are. And neo-Nazis, let's make this whole thing clear, you're not getting any money for this podcast, after I've said it too. They won't accept every person because of their views. And to them, Warhammer is not for everyone. And I think that is unfair. And if you want to make this unfair, like, call me childish, but I'm going to make it unfair to you too. Because there's only war in the, 42nd millennium, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, I've always been about, having fun with my friends, with people I don't know. And some people find it offensive that I happen to have a couple of boobs on my chest, and I happen to, don't have any dangly bits between my legs, and oh my
How
goodness,
dare
a girl on the internet liking Warhammer. Fortunately, this thing isn't a, big thing in the whole fandom, but still, if we have these kinds of people who don't accept others because of, that they don't fit into their world, then I'm not sure if Warhammer 40k is a wide enough world to fit them. If Games Workshop already says that, okay, we don't want you, then that's quite clear. And I've been hard on Games Workshop too. I have been very angry at them for reasons I could go into, but we'd be here stuck for like 3 hours or something. But still, like, this thing, I think it's very good that they said it out loud.
Yeah. I think we could spend the next 2 hours probably just dissecting all of this, but I think all of us have made our point, and if YouTube feel they want to demonetize it for talking about things that they don't like people talking about, fine, don't care. I don't make much money off the channel because I don't upload anymore. If you guys as viewers are not happy with me, then tough, because that's my opinion and I'm sticking with it. And to any of my students who are listening, because I know some of you do, this is a statement that will hold true as me as a person. This isn't Tactica talking. This is your teacher talking as well. Those ideologies are not a part of our society. Part of my job as a teacher is to promote British values as the Department for Education and the government defines them. The rule of law, democracy, respect for human rights, etc. That is why I felt I could talk about this. Rather than last time where I even made a point on my community tab saying, hell yeah, GW, well done, and got comment bombed into the floor. It was like 300 hate comments. So I know what this will do, and I do not back down from it. I'm sorry if that offends you, but there's the door in that case. Right. That is all I want to say on the matter, because, to be honest, it annoys me and it upsets me to have to talk about it at all. I'm glad it's been aired out. I'm glad GW have said something. And now it's just a case of them holding themselves and us as a community holding each other to account, I suppose. But in happier times, and I will leave a timestamp in the description if people want to skip to this point because they're sick of hearing about it.
Fair.
Let's talk. Let's get on with the show and let's talk about some models and some all things Warhammer, shall we?
Yes.
And I think the other place that I could have started this show was with the Christmas Battleforces, because there were a lot of them. 10, in fact.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
So there were 6 for Warhammer 40,000 and 4 for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, as ever AOS is getting the shaft. But they're really quite a nice combination, a nice mix. On the 40k front, there is Space Marines, because there always is. A nice mix of Primaris infantry with a flyer, some heavy infantry as well, and some melee infantry too. So a nice mix of infantry with a vehicle in support.
There's a wide variety of Primaris.
Yeah.
Dudes that look the same, and I look at them and I go, I know what they all are, but my eyes are glazing over.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Sorry, I just had to, inject just a little bit of being
it's
generally disappointed. Just like,
it's fine.
Could be a dreadnought in there or something. Or
perhaps there wasn't. You just missed it.
Yeah, it'll be one of those. It'll be the war suit, and it's infiltrating from behind the counter. You have to buy it separately.
The Adeptus Sororitas get a squad of Battle Sisters, an Immolator, an Exorcist, a Sister Dogmata, and some Celestian Sacrosancts, which feels a lot lighter on infantry compared to the Space Marine version, which is very odd, given you get 38 Marines plus a vehicle and a hero versus 15 Sisters, 2 vehicles and a hero. However, that should be said that said vehicles are an Immolator and an Exorcist, both of which are A, cool, and B, awesome.
Fair.
I mean, it's still not a fair balance point. We haven't seen the prices at the time of recording, so they may not be priced evenly, but if it costs the same as the Marine one, then the Sisters are getting a little bit of it in the neck.
Yeah.
True.
The Adeptus Mechanicus get the Omnissiah's Talon with Taraxii, Ruststalkers, and Cerberus Raiders, as well as an Iron Strider, Skitarii Rangers, and a Tech Priest Manipulus. And again, a nice mix of infantry and fast units as well. So a good real starting core or a good expansion on a combat patrol for an Adeptus Mechanicus army.
This is completely irrelevant, but I just want to put this out here. Whenever I look at the what they're called, the Walker I always forget the name.
Iron Strider Ballastaria,
The Iron Strider. It always reminds me of the Walkers from the start of Final Fantasy VI. The artwork of them, not
true.
the actual, not the sprites per se, because those are just like mech suits. But the
but
artwork,
the pictures, the actual artwork. Goodness gracious! Now I cannot unsee it, and I have the Terrace theme stuck in my head now. Thank you very much.
They always made me think of the tall boys from Dishonored, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious!
But
now
that's probably just because I just wasn't exposed to Final Fantasy growing up, so I think that's just a case of what I saw first.
Tall boys announcing that they have sand on their shoes. Goodness.
The Death Guard are next. They get a squad of Plague Marines, some Death Shroud Terminators, 3 Mephitic Blight Haulers, and a Plague Burst Crawler, as well as a Champion and Icon Bearer. So no real big flashy hero in the middle, but oh god, if you like your tanks, then fun times abound.
That's a bit. It looks like a fun set of like squat models all together.
Aww.
Yeah,
not
very much short, fat, and stompy.
Yeah,
that's
a non-proper noun squat.
And I have found speaking poundage-wise. Sorry, Disney.
To be fair, it's basically Nurgle in a nutshell, short, fat, and stompy.
Yeah. Okay, so Winnie the Pooh is a chaos god.
Checks out to me.
True.
I mean, there's been a gap since Malal was kind of taken away. So
true. True.
Yeah, it makes total sense to me, and I'm sure there's no copyright reason why it can't be true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next one down is Necrons, who are receiving a squad of warriors, some Scarab Swarms, a heavy destroyer, 3 Ophidian destroyers, which is the ones that look like the old Wraiths, flayed ones, and 2 Doomstalkers alongside a Psychomancer. Now, I saw the video of Kirioth absolutely marking out over this thing, and it should be worth noting that many of these units have actually recently been buffed in the 40k balance pass. They've been given the core keyword, and so actually this army has had a slight booster for reasons that we will discuss a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the big walkers. I do like them.
They're very good.
Very War of the Worlds still.
Yeah, I feel like that too.
Then we have the Orcs. They are so they are receiving a box containing the 20 of the Combat Patrol Boys, 10 Grots, 5 Knobs, a Dakka Jet or any version of that flyer, a Shock Attack Gun, and a Death Killer War Trike. This is slightly irritating because I recently bought the Combat Patrol and the Dakka Jet.
Oh no!
But having said that, the Knobs are one of the most customizable kits in all of 40k. The Combat Patrol Boys are awful, and I hate them because they are push fit and they suck. I went on a whole rant on another episode about how much they suck, so I'm not going to do it again. And I do find it a little odd that you've got an infantry army with heavy artillery, a flyer, and a bike hero that doesn't buff any of them because it's a speed boss, not a war boss.
I was going to say, that is not the HQ choice that I would put with that army.
No.
That's like Leroy Jenkins, in the lead of an army.
It's like the war boss in...
Fluffy.
Like the war boss in Mega Armor, I'd understand they might not want to repeat that one because they just put it in the Combat Patrol, and otherwise it's just the Combat Patrol with theatrics. But there are many HQs they could have included, like, for example, the Gruck Face Ripper HQ, the Kill Team War Boss that they now use would have been fine. If you want something big and fast, then put in, something that's thematic to this kind of infantry stompy army might be a Rocket Truck Squig Buggy or a Boom Dakka Snaz Wagon that runs around throwing Molotovs all over the place, and you maybe put in, make that be a burner bomber as its thematic core, for example. Because the big mech is functionally useless, because it can't ride around on the war trike, and it can't fix the plane. It's just there for shock attack gun purposes. And, I don't know, it's fine, but also completely meh. And I come back to Kirioth's video, why are there no Beast Snaggers in here? Like, the Beast Snaggers just got the rocket push, and I know they got the custom army box, but why aren't they here?
I presume because they wanted to make more of a vanilla orc box rather than like, because that's the Beast Snaggers kind of remind me of like Primaris in that they are sort of a sub faction within a faction, even though they're not really, but they're almost treated as such. So maybe they just wanted to make a kind of vanilla orcs, for want of a better term.
Yeah,
maybe. But they can do that with the combat patrol, I suppose.
True.
Because I think of this on top of the combat patrol, which is sort of what you expect most people to do as a starting point. You've got 40 boys that all look the same. A war boss, a death dread, death copters, war trike, big mech, darker jet. So your army's technically illegal unless you take 2 detachments, because you can't have 2 war boss or speed boss in the same detachment. You have to have 2.
All right, yeah.
Because of that restriction. So I don't know. I feel like if you were going to make this box to complement the combat patrol, then don't just copy paste the boys and put in a HQ that synergizes, like, I don't know, the Pain boss, or make it like a squad of Mega Knobs where one of them can be a big mech in Mega Armor to go stomping around, or something. You've just reboxed the battle wagon. God knows the truck is there, I guess. I don't know.
I do like that it's got a single box of grots in there.
You would
just because it's like, having bought I think that box 10 times at this point. That is a very old kit, and it could probably do with a new one. So it's kind of fun to see it just being part of a new release. You know,
it's the same age as the knobs. They came out together.
Well, if it's not broken, don't fix
Jesus.
it. Also,
the Storm Boys. Sorry, go on, Naerina.
Yeah, like on a completely unrelated note, I cannot stop looking at that Dakar jet and just realize that the song "I Believe I Can Fly" has never been more literal than in this this point. Like, I'm just looking at this. I believe I can fly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only reason why you can fly. But yeah, go ahead.
Accurate. It's just that the Knobs, the Storm Boys, and the Grots alongside the Battle Wagon all came out together in January 2009. So that Knobs box and that Grots box are the same age. It's just the Knobs box has aged amazingly because it's got a gajillion parts.
Oh yeah. There's I didn't realize, because actually that would have been around not long after those came out. Would have been when I started playing again.
I was in the hobby 6 months before this happened. So I was in the hobby July 2008, and this happened January 2009.
Like, don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore the Grot kit, evidenced by the fact I've bought it 10 times. But there's a lot of real vague sculpting on parts of that, because it wasn't quite the quality that we're up to now.
Yeah.
And there's a few parts where you literally just have, like, some of the straps around, like, the feet and stuff, like, you just have to paint that detail on because it is physically not there.
Yeah, they were one-piece models cast over a decade ago.
Yeah.
They were there as... they were £8 a box when they were released.
Oh, I remember that.
Box.
I remember them being that cheap.
Those were the days. Those were the days. They were less than £1 a model.
Oh. I mean, to be fair, I still think they're one of the best. I think they're like $12.50 or something now, maybe a little more. I think there was a recent increase, but I still like. It's still a nice kit to get. That's relative. It's like it's how often can you buy a model that is less than £15, or a kit that is less than £15?
True.
Agreed.
Sorry, Grots came up, so I had to talk about it for an extended period of time.
Fine.
I apologize.
If I can do and I believe I can fly bit over here, you can talk about things.
And there is one particular Grot we can talk about a little bit later.
Yay!
But before we get there, we do need to dive across universes to the mortal realms and talk about their battle forces. So, first, the Soul Blight Gravelords get the chunkiest battle force you have ever seen.
Oh, that is a lot of dudes.
20 skeletons, 40 zombies, 5 Blood Knights, and a Vangorian Lord.
Goodness.
Yes, you heard me. 40 zombies.
Like, when you put that on a table, like, yeah, I have a couple of models over here, like, yeah, they're going to fight you now. Hee hee.
Yes, and they're going to get back up when you kill them. That's the joy of Dead Walking.
So basically, you could have a Halloween one-shot with these. Like, Otherwise, something along the lines of Mordheim or, Kill Team or something, and then just put those zombies in there like, you'll have to survive. Have fun.
Yep, I remember back in year 8 or year 9 literally trying to write a rule set for that. On Daka, there was a huge long forum thread of trying to recreate Call of Duty Zombies in Warhammer 40,000 way before Kill Team was a thing. Yes, I did that.
Good.
For the Hedonites of Slaanesh, a box that, depending on the price point, is either the best or worst thing ever. So you get a Shard Speaker, 10 of the Heavy Cyberites, so the... oh god, they've got weird names. I know this. The Simbaresh Twin Souls and Myrmidesh Painbringers. There we go, I remembered.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Oh, yeah.
You get 10 Blissbarb Archers, 5 Slick Blade Seekers, or Blissbarb Seekers, which is the Missile Cavalry variant, and 3 Slangor. Now, the reason I mention how good this box could be is that each of these boxes individually is £35 a go.
What?
With the exception of the character. Literally, Blissbarb Archers are like £33.50. The Heavy Infantry are about 30. The Slick Blade Seekers are about 40. And Slangor, I think, are £36.50.
I can hear my wallet crying.
The Slaanesh models are exceptionally detailed, and I know because I own them, but also incredibly costly on a points per model basis. I'll get to the next box in a minute, I know. But depending on the price point, this could be an incredible starting point for a mortal Slaanesh army, because most of the starter boxes, Wrath and Rapture when that was a thing, Shadow and Pain, and the Start Collecting for Slaanesh are all demon-based. So there isn't really a good mortal starter box for Slaanesh at the moment, and this is a really good one, I think. A bit light on core infantry, but because it's light on archers, but still very good.
My one critique is that whoever set up the model photos didn't really count on the fact that they've got a purple tinged background and a bunch of purple tinged models, and my brain slides off trying to work out what shapes are when looking at it.
All the photos of the Slaanesh models are like that, even in the battle tome.
Yeah, what are shapes, indeed.
What are contrasting colours? They don't exist.
Well, they do have some yellow in the foreground. Oh, right, it is with the text.
Yeah. Oh, there's a golden mirror in the background there, or whatever.
Oh,
that's an emblem. That's an umbral spell portal. That's an endless spell that shouldn't be there.
Oh, okay.
That's a model. That's an endless spell.
Whoopsie.
Whoops.
Close enough.
Just don't look at that thing.
It's not purple, don't look at it.
The next box is the Lumineth Realm Lords, who can't stop getting starter boxes, it seems. And this one, the Venari Shining Host, I really like this box. It's got a Lord Regent, 10 of the Warden Pikemen, 5 Dawn Rider Cavalry, 5 Blade Lords, a Banner Blade, and a Star Shard Ballista. And I own every single model in this box already.
How was the ballista? Did you already build the ballista?
I've built and painted it. It's sat on my desk. Yeah, the photos are somewhere on Twitter if you scroll back through my media feed enough.
How was the process of building it?
Pretty easy, to be honest. The only challenge really was putting it on the base. The construction is really simple. And it's just a case of putting all the base elements together in the right places. The Banner Blade is one of my favourite models ever. The Lord Regent is an amazing model. The Blade Lords are lovely. And the best thing is there's no archers in here. And the reason why that's a good thing is because the archers are the most broken thing in Age of Sigmar at the moment and are probably going to get nerfed into the floor in the upcoming AOS Balance Pass. And finally, if you like things both spooky and scary, then you can have the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. You get a Bone Shaper and a Soul Reaper as your heroes, as well as 20 more Tech Guard, 3 of the big 4-armed, 4-headed Necropolis Stalkers, a Gothizar Harvester, and a Mortec Crawler. So a nice mix of core infantry, some magic, some really chunky infantry models, and some artillery support.
Whenever I look at these, I think I can't help but have flashbacks to the action figures for both Skeleton Warriors and Mummies Alive.
You're going to have to explain that one to me.
Oh, but it's two cartoons from the 90s. Skeleton Warriors has an amazing theme tune. If you've never heard it, once you're done with this, go on YouTube and search for Skeleton Warriors.
Oh, you're going to sing it?
Well, it's mostly na 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 na. It's mostly that. So
understandable. Then.
And then yelling "Skeleton Warriors" over and over again. It's great. And Mummies Alive was another thing. They were both. They were like Transformers or G.I. Joe. Just a cartoon to promote a toy line. But they had chunky figures that were based around undead creatures. So the Ossiarchs being chunky skeletons, that's just what they look like to me.
That is more than fair. And the bottom of this article actually has something new hidden away that I actually missed the first time I looked at the article. So 40k in its most current iteration has been receiving the combat patrols, which are essentially the replacement to start collecting, just nobody say it. Age of Sigmar is now doing the same thing. With the Maggotkin of Nurgle battle tome that is on its way in December, I think, or is it January? I forget exactly. They have said when it's coming, but it's soon. And they have announced the Age of Sigmar Vanguard box for the Maggotkin of Nurgle, because Vanguard is the equivalent to Combat Patrol in terms of the smallest game size that Age of Sigmar plays at, 500 points. So it's a 500-point army in a box for Nurgle, made of a Spoilpox Scrivener, I think I said that right, 10 Plague Bearers, 5 Blight Kings, and 2 Blight Lords, which are the ones on the Plague Drones. Excuse me.
That's all right.
So yes, Combat Patrol is now being copy-pasted over to AOS, and Start Collectings are definitely going goodnight. Well. To be fair, the Combat Patrol Orcs, as much as I hate the boys in it, the box is pretty good value. I can't really argue. And I say that in terms of, value relative, because it's Warhammer.
Well, when you say value, it's like compared to recommended retail price of the individual units contained therein.
Correct.
Indeed.
Now, there's honestly been so much, I don't really know where to go next in terms of news to discuss. We could talk about Titanicus, we could talk about Aeronautica, we could talk about Horus Heresy, we could talk about dragons, we could talk about rules changes, we could talk about pretty painting.
Or rules changes with the dragons, or what was it again that you were talking about before that, Podcasters?
Yes, so basically the Stormcast Eternals are getting their dragons, Krondys and Karazai, as well as the Stormdrake Guard. But because they were delayed due to pandemic, they have had more time to do some playtesting, realised that a dragon army is incredibly overpowered, and nerfed them. Because they designed rules that you can take an all-dragon army. If you take, I think it's a Knight Draconis as your general, then you can take Stormdrake Guard as battle line. But they've realised that that's incredibly overpowered, and so what they've done is nerfed all of the dragon riders up in cost. So you can still fit 10 dragons in a list if you don't take the mega dragons, or 8 and a mega dragon if you prefer. So they have slightly nerfed the dragons ahead of their release, which is coming very, very soon.
I suppose at least that's better than doing what GW normally does nowadays, which is change rules a few days after they've released the print copy.
Yeah, that is something which is really, really annoying.
The print copy of that book has been out for 2 months.
Oh, no! Games Workshop. Why are you like this? Why are you like this?
Just when we were saying good things about you.
Yeah, the Stormcast Eternals battle tome is sat at my side right now.
All right then. I take back any nice things I have said.
Sorry.
Legit, this drives me up the wall. Like, just... How do they do this so often now? They release a book, and then when you buy a book, it is a physical object. It is chunky now because, at least back in the day when there were little softback things, you didn't feel too bad if something got changed because it's a small book. Whereas now,
like
whenever
£12.
Yeah, like, especially if it was a mini one, they were dirt cheap. But now, you buy a big codex, and when day one, there are things that are wrong in it, and I just look at them and I go, this was a waste of trees. And I shouldn't feel that about a nice new book, but the fact that they get made, to some degree, obsolete so quickly. I mean, the only way it gets made more obsolete more quickly is if it's a Space Marine Codex released at some point in the last 4 years. But
but I will say, in Judura's defense, they have announced this before the models come out.
Yeah.
So they're not waiting until you've bought enough and then nerfed it after that army and nerf it so that army that you made becomes unusable.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Okay, that
so
is
they've
fair
nerfed
point.
them ahead of release of the model, just not the book.
They're getting there. They are getting there.
By 2030, we might actually have books released that have been playtested.
Don't keep your hopes up.
I'm not home. This is me wish listing because it'll be so far in the past that no one can call me on it.
Yes, and speaking of playtesting, they announced in that article there will be a Age of Sigmar balance update in December, but they've already done the 40k one. If you've been following MetaWatch, Games Workshop's competitive analysis article from tournaments, you will know that certain armies have been kicking everybody's butt into the floor. I'm looking at you, Drakari, and you, Admech, and also you, Orcs. So, what they've done is ahead of time, or in response to all of these things, they have released official updates which are actually optional outside of their events.
Huh.
So what they've said is, as with all Warhammer rules, if you are not at an official Games Workshop event, these changes are optional. You can use whatever rules you like when you play at home. But that's just them saying, these are our official rules, you need to know them, but just in case you did miss it, it's not going to make your games at home invalid.
Thank you for accepting the fact that I am not going to print out yet another 4 sheets of paper to stuff in the back of my codex.
It should be noted that said balance pass is 1 page of pretty much a full rewrite of the points cost of Adeptus Mechanicus, and a full page of points rewrites of the Drakari. I don't know which units have been changed and which ones haven't, they don't make that clear, but there are 2 pages where the 2 biggest armies have their entire points cost rewritten. I don't know which ones have changed, but they're all there.
Yeah, I don't have either of those codexes to check, but...
No, me neither.
Yeah, it's probably quite drastic if they're doing the whole thing.
The other changes come as follows. Astra Militarum. Leman Russes have a 2-up save now.
I'm about to buy some to make a grot-based Imperial Guard army, so I'm happy about that.
Yes, do it.
Tank commanders can now order any vehicle that isn't Titanic instead of just Russes. So you can give orders to like your Hellhounds and Basilisks and stuff.
Since I was going to have a tank commander be my one, I'm also happy about that. Actually, no, these rules are great. Yeah, I'm printing these.
Each time
not a waste of trees.
Oh, no, I'm still not done. Each time a unit with Voice of Command issues one of take aim, first rank fire, bring it down forwards, get back in the fight, or fix bayonets to an infantry unit, that same order can be issued to another unit within 6 inches. So basically your basic orders can be double tapped.
Interesting.
Essentially. Which is great. Chaos Space Marines. They now have the Goths no mucking about ability from the last codex, which is Death to the False Emperor now is every 6 explodes into 2. When you roll to hit. Knights, both loyal and otherwise, now count as 5 models for armigers and 10 models for normal knights when determining control of an objective marker. And if your army is a knight army without unaligned units and agents units, then your armigers and war dogs now have OBSEC. Which allows them to overscore, in case you didn't know.
Interesting.
Necrons, the core keyword, has now been given to cannot take acanthrites, cannot take reanimators, cannot take wraiths, flayed ones, locust destroyers, locust heavy destroyers, ophidian destroyers, scorpion destroyers, and triarch praetorians. Yes, they've given the core keyword to triarch praetorians. I don't understand why, but there we go. Triarch praetorians do not belong inside a dynasty, but here we are where we go. So yes, they've given a bunch of units core. That is a good thing, I guess. I've never really understood the core keyword because I've played like 2 games of 9th edition. And finally, orcs. You are now allowed to only take 1 unit of each of the buggies. Snazwagons, booster blasters, scrapjets, squig buggies, and dragsters. However, the speed mob rule that they have means you can take a unit of 3, so you can still get 3 in your army, you just can't have 9, because that was the problem.
There's one guy out there who's super mad because his army consisted of 9 squig buggies.
Yeah, and it's called Ride or Die.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
But yes, this is... In many ways, this is kind of welcome. I remember the days back in 8th edition of the big FAQ. Does anyone else remember the big FAQ?
Yeah, I remember them, yeah.
Which was a giant pile of beta test rules to try and indirectly change game mechanics because certain things were just too powerful. So that literally it was, for example, one of them was you can't deep strike outside of your deployment zone on turn 1 because Alpha Strike was too powerful. That's the one I always remember.
Okay.
They took Alpha Strike out of the game by making you only allowed to deep strike in your own deployment zone on turn 1. This feels better than that because rather than changing the entire game to try and make sure so that everyone has to read it, what they've done is they've targeted problem armies and said, you get a nerf, and also, you down there, you get a buff. When was the last time they buffed something?
I mean, normally only when a codex comes out and they make it too powerful by accident.
Yeah.
Exactly. They've never just, made something weak and then buffed it. They've always made something too powerful and then nerfed it and left the weak stuff weak. It's nice to see them buffing things. I mean,
yeah.
Chaos Space Marines 2 wounds when, but still.
God, there's a whole thing, I recently played, I say recently, it was months ago now, but what is time anymore?
I don't know. Haven't heard about it in years. I mean, in years.
Don't ask him, a physicist.
Yeah, in the last couple of years, I'm pretty sure that time is just is both infinite and nothing at the same time. It's
a Schrodinger's time.
Yeah, but I played the first game I played in 9th with my Space Marines, and I was sitting there going because I had some Primaris and some Firstborn, and I was I completely forgot that all of them have just got 2 wounds now. I remember sitting there going so if my regular ones have got 2 wounds, what are Primaris here for? It's they've got a different gun. Yeah, but they could have just given a different gun to regular. What are Primaris for anymore? Thematically, and they've dug themselves into a hole, and it's really weird.
Space Marine players in the comments, let us know, what is the point of Primaris in your army anymore?
They do fill different niches, of course, but at the moment, this, it means that the overlap between what different units did, which was already massive, is the Venn diagram of all Space Marine units is gradually converging on just being a perfect circle. Of what they're for and what they do. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, before, intercessors versus tactical squads came with versatility but lacked in resilience. Now they have the resilience, and the only thing that's worse is their bolters have less range, but they get rocket launchers and las cannons and flamers and melter guns and plasma guns and power fists. Why wouldn't you take a tactical squad? I'm sure there's going to be someone tell me why you wouldn't take a tactical squad, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I say all these things from someone who played the game for years. I'm a casual player. I don't give a crap about competitive stuff. It's not how I like to play the game. If you do, fair enough, but it's not for me. So sometimes, especially reading the horrendously bloated Space Marine Codex now, I do just sit there and go, so there's like 8 units that do basically the same thing now. Okay. We could probably get rid of some of these.
Absolutely. Oh, no, of course not.
But then they'd say, oh, but you're retiring by such and such. You know what happened to Necron Pariahs? That people have still not gotten over after 13 years.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I actually did a big thread about this the other day. This was like 2 months ago. Why can't I understand time anymore? Lockdowns broke me last year. But like, with Primaris, they kind of like put themselves into a really weird, like, self-imposed hole, because when it started off, it was like, okay, so they want to make new Marines, like canon, and like they want to make it so that they're not replacing the old Marines. So they've made this whole canon thing of the new ones. It's like, okay, that's an interesting way of tackling that, because then it means no one's stuff becomes obsolete. But as it's gone on, you realise, wait, no, this just means that now the Space Marine army is a regular Space Marine army and a Primaris army and arguably kind of a Vanguard army as well. And so it's just all of this stuff together, and now they've got to this point where they desperately need to cut the fat on those books. Like, they are outrageous how much is in them. It makes just navigating them such a pain.
Shall we make a prediction? How many pages is Codex Space Marines? I don't want to make a prediction. How many pages do you think it is?
I don't know offhand.
No,
I'm really bad at gauging the modern ones. I can remember rough like spaces them from like 3rd edition, but yeah.
Oh, what was it then?
Oh, that you got what, like the really old ones were just like 20 odd pages or something.
Well, my 4th edition Orc Codex was 104, and yes, I still remember the number.
Goodness.
So go on, throw me a number. How many pages do you think the Space Marine Codex is now?
Like 200?
205.
208.
We were so close, both of us.
Yeah.
208 pages containing 98 data sheets.
You do not need that many. You do not need that many. But they've got themselves into this situation now where there's no good answer, because now they've written themselves into this thing where they couldn't just release Primaris as the new type of tactical squad or whatever. They can't do that because now they've canonically established them as being an entirely separate thing, so they can't just be replacements. But now whenever they do inevitably like nix all like a bunch of the old Firstborn stuff, as they kind of need to, now they're just going to piss literally everybody off, because if you play 40k, you have a Space Marine army somewhere at some point. You've collected one.
I then sold it. I've sold it.
Okay. Well, statistically, you have collected one in the past, you know.
Yeah, like, it's fine.
It's just a thing. Most people who play the game will have had one at some point, and likely still do. And if suddenly a huge swathe of their army is suddenly removed or put into Legends, and I have opinions about Legends, about how effective that's been. Oh, hey, we're on edition out, and already multiple of the entries don't make much sense anymore because they apply to rules that do not exist in the current codex. Cool.
In the ancient times, the rules were different for this land.
I don't want to take 2 orc codexes because one of my units uses things from the old orc codex. But yeah, and like now it's just going to be, when they do have to remove them, now it means that you're going to have to make a lot of people's armies be like illegal, and that's just going to piss everyone off. There's no good answer anymore. Like, probably the easiest way to do it is to actually just make Primaris be a separate army.
Yeah, they have Codex Space Marines and Codex Primaris Space Marines, and then in each Codex supplement, just say, your army may contain units from Codex Primaris Space Marines, for those that have fully gone over, like the Blood Angels probably have, because they all died.
The Rubicon Primaris thingy.
To your army may contain units from Codex Space Marines, in the case of, say, the Space Wolves, because they hate the Primaris, and just have each supplement be based off which army they are predominantly made of, Firstborn or Primaris. It would sting, because there'll be a lot of, like, for example, Black Templar players saying, but I just got Primaris Sword Brethren, why can't I have them anymore? Or, I have the old Sword Brethren Terminators, why can't I use those anymore? There is no right answer, there is no win. in murdering the Space Marine line. And they're going to have to murder the Space Marine line, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, I mean, we can't, because Games Workshop has this whole thing where there's someone at Games Workshop who can't orgasm unless they've managed to introduce a new type of Primaris. So by 10th edition, there will be so many new Primaris units added that they will go, okay, the printers will come back and say, you're going to have to start charging you more to make these books because we're having to reinforce the spines because there are too many data sheets in these.
I wish you were wrong, but what they would do is probably just say, cut all the lore out.
Honestly,
they're already doing it.
Fine. If I will take anything right now to make a manageable Space Marine Codex, especially now that they've done the whole Codex supplement thing again. So now when I want to play my Blood Angels, I've now got one giant book and one much smaller book, both of which are big hardback things.
Yeah. At least in the days of paperbacks, they were not as terrible.
Perhaps this is just a secret, GW plot to make people, exercise more. Because they have to carry those books and they have to be strong enough to do that.
It's a secret plot to make my bookshelf fall down is what it is.
And as someone who carries, 30 exercise books home and back on at least 2 or 3 times weekly basis, trust me, just more exercise is not going to solve the problem.
Teachers are going to be the only people who are able to play 40k by 11th edition because you will require so many books. Teachers are the only people who have trained to carry that many books at once.
While you were painting your miniatures, I studied the books.
I literally studied the art of the book and how to lift and carry, and I prepared for this day. And now all of you with your obsolete codices that you can no longer bring to your game, bask in my glory as I have all of the FAQs.
Damn me and my sedentary lifestyle of making YouTube videos. I was not prepared for this amount of exercise just to play my game.
Someone needs to draw a picture of this. Goodness gracious.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Right. I'm breathing.
The chap teacher and the virgin YouTuber.
Don't.
I was just getting ready to breathe for the first time in 5 minutes. Thanks a lot.
Well, I tell you what, while we're talking about Primaris Marines, Black Templars, they have just got their last wave of models released. So they've now got their Codex supplement. They've got Helbrecht, Grimalda's Sword Brethren, Crusader Squads, Castellans, Marshals, Empress Champion, and the transfer sheet and all the holy relics inside, which I've said it before, but thank you for putting the relics into miniature form. That's actually kind of nice.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
The Space Marine Chaplain, the blooming, I think it's a Primaris one, has returned from come back from Space. Oh, it's a Space Marine Heroes Chaplain, so that won't be a Primaris one, will it? Is it? No, it is. The Net Guard, it is. Never mind, ignore me. And that covers the reorders from that week, as well as the Croxigor. Book 7 for the Horus Heresy finally came back, which is good. This week's pre-orders, there have been, for this week, it is some very odd choices. So Necromunda's Vansar stuff is now out. The Arachnorig, the Cyberarachnids, and the different champions and stuff are now out for Necromunda. There is some made-to-order old-school Middle-earth stuff. And, oddly enough, Holger Clovenhorn, which, for those of you who don't know, was an event... Oh my goodness, I'm really sorry. An event-exclusive miniature for 2021. But
really?
As they were due to debut at Adepticon, and I don't think Adepticon went ahead, they actually are just going to, put her out on general sale for anyone who missed out.
Nice.
I don't know where the other event miniatures are, but there we go. It's something. So I've quickly rattled off the pre-orders, and that sorts that. In terms of new stuff, there have been 3 different reveals, all for different different core and specialist games. For Horus Heresy, we received the Sons of Horus Prito in Terminator armor.
It's a very fancy model.
It's a very fancy model. However, I think they misspoke when they said Sons of Horus.
Oh? Judging
by the paint scheme.
Oh, right.
Because if you look at the paint scheme, and I'm going to try and remember to put the model on screen, note to future Tactica do that, they have made a lot of very sharp blue highlights, and it looks like a Night Lord now.
Plot twist. Ren
I
would be proud.
This is one of those models that I will be interested to see like in person, because the angle that they've shot it at, it does make the leg and waist look a little weird.
Proportion-wise.
Yeah, proportion-wise.
Chunky leg is definitely someone who didn't skip leg day.
Yeah, it's like got a really thin waist, and like his knee appears to be a weirdly low down. It might just be the angle, so I want to see it from other angles, you know?
He's just wearing a corset.
Okay, I mean, if that's what they want to do, like, I'm not judging them. I'm not judging them.
Supports, you know, their middle region.
I'm just saying that I support their choices, but it's probably not the best idea when being on a battlefield.
It could be. Also, can we talk about how well they painted the skulls on the hip of that miniature?
Yes, actually there's a lore point. It is a Chthonian tradition to dip the skulls of your enemies in gold. So they painted the skulls as if they were bone dipped in gold.
And they actually look, it could be the lighting, of course, but they actually look metallic. If that is like painted, that white stuff on there as well, kudos to that person who painted that. That looks very good.
I'd suspect that white might just be like exceptionally, because they often use silver to edge highlight gold, so it could be silver. So Stormhost silver, the old Mithril silver, is sometimes used as an extreme edge highlight for gold to make it glint.
Neat, I didn't know that. But anyway,
yeah, I do that a fair bit when doing gold stuff.
Yeah, and there is something else that they wanted to point out with this model. It has a back banner.
True.
Yeah, actually, I think I've been painting some models recently with back banners, so I didn't even really acknowledge that. Yeah, because they don't normally do that on Horus Heresy, do they?
Yeah, they literally said that fans of a certain age will be delighted to see the return of back banners. Like, I'm casting my mind back now, and obviously people feel free to chip in wherever. When was the last time they released a model with a back banner?
No idea.
I'm not sure.
Because I'm throwing my mind back. None of the Primarchs have one.
True.
And there's Orc Boss Poles. Kato Sicarius had one in his 2008 variation. Modern Kato Sicarius doesn't. Degurius used to have one. He doesn't anymore. Did he? He might have done. Maybe. Don't know. But it's definitely a lot rarer.
Yeah. I bet it's attached to the corset.
Possibly. I also really like the touch of a wolf pelt over the shoulder, because it's a like Sons of Horus Lunar Wolves type thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got a mace. We don't see maces very often, but because it's Sons of Horus, World Breaker diddly diddly dee. Excellent suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of tassels. A lot of tassels.
Well, they're fancy. It's catchy.
Well, you know, they got to know they're fancy somehow.
Yeah.
Agreed. It is, in general, a really, really nice model. And it's not... If you just scraped away like the XVI, and you could honestly pass this off as any traitor legion. I know there's a lot of Eye of Horus symbols, but the traitors basically scrubbed away the Aquila for the Eye of Horus anyway. So if you just scrubbed off the XVI, you could probably pass this off as being from pretty much any legion you wanted to. Which is probably why the Night Lord joke lands, because it could be a Night Lord.
And I mean, I expect it'd be a good thing to use in the modern, in 40k as well, because by that point, you know, the Eye of Horus is even more widespread. So
true.
Yeah, and it doesn't. There are little hints on sort of the carvings in the chest and leg plates that kind of hint at a Chaos Star without being a Chaos Star. Like with the carvings and the spiky patterns, it kind of has the beginnings of the Star of Chaos in it. Or maybe that's just me.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah, I can see it.
where am I going next? I've done that one. The next new miniature, actually I'm going back a little further in time now, were for two different specialist games, Titanicus and Aeronautica. For Titanicus, you have now got Armiger Knights and Mechanicum Knight Moirax banners. So these are smaller than even regular knights. These are your Armigers. And they are now joining Titanicus. And they actually do a little picture comparison of an Armiger against... I think it is one, maybe like the War Master Titan or something, and it's barely up to the thing's knee.
The Armigers are utterly adorable, and I want them. They're just so adorable.
Cute.
And for Aeronautica, the Croissants.
Croissants! Food time! Honestly, they are painted even in that kind of gold tinted. Like I was first thing that popped into mind. Like, yeah, that is an actual croissant. I'm going to eat that.
Yeah, I think just saying they look like croissants is all we really wanted to say, wasn't it?
Well, there is actually a new type of flyer here, the Night Shroud Bomber, which is definitely not in the main codex. Doesn't have a model for the main range. You can see, if you look at the two of them side by side, the tail of the bomber is longer and it has an extra ring of croissant around the inner croissant.
Ah, the red double croissant.
Yes, the red-tailed double croissant.
Indeed. So it's actually, I don't know if that is brand new or if it's a Forge World design that they've copied, but it's certainly new to me, the Night Shroud Bomber.
It's an HR, is it Giger or Geiger croissant?
It's Giga, I believe.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's how he said you're supposed to pronounce his name.
I haven't heard him say it himself, but thanks.
Because everyone said Geiger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it looks like it's ready to give a hug.
Just put a couple of friendly hands on the end of the croissant. I mean, it's going to shoot you, but it'll be friendly.
It'll be a hug, very soft hug of death.
Yeah.
Right. I think I need to hand over the wheel because it's we're going to have a little bit of a chat with Mike Brooks. Not literally, I'm afraid. There was an interview article with him all about the Gobbo's Revenge, the upcoming Red Gobbo literary piece that is coming around Christmas time.
Ah, yes, the book that I ordered from my local Games Workshop and still hasn't been delivered.
When was it supposed to be delivered?
Oh, I ordered it over a week ago, and they're like, oh yeah, just because it was sold out the day. I went from the day it was released, and I went in, and they were like, oh, you can order it in, and we'll just have it delivered, and we'll send you an email when it's being delivered. And what I actually think has happened is that the tracker has broken, so it's just saying nothing's happening with it. So I need to go in and say, hey, have you got my book?
Aww.
It's about the goblins, and I like the goblins.
Yeah, they're green, and they're my friends.
What do you make of the Christmas miniature for the Red Gobbo, by the by, since you're here?
I have not. I don't really like it, honestly. Something about Squig's face I just can't really get on with, and it looks like it'd be too much of a pain to de-Christmasify for my Rebel Grots. And I've already got the old Red Gobbo, so I'm like, I wasn't really...
the teeth skates. He only has the skates. Which they don't have on the model, which I'm very sad about. But they at least have the beard.
But yeah, no, it's a fine model. But yeah, it's just something about it just rubbed me wrong, so I didn't get it. But I ordered the book because, well, I collect a Rebel Grots army. They're not going to release a Red Gobbo novella and me not buy it.
Absolutely.
Also, can we talk about the knee in the, cover picture of that Gobbo over there? That is the right position in which a knee should be in comparison to the, miniature we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my 2 cents to it, but...
No, just for those of us who aren't artists, how do you mean?
When you draw a, leg from the front, and it's, not straight, but, you do something with your knee, etc., etc. Usually your thigh looks shorter than the rest of your leg. And with this one, the thigh is noticeably shorter than with the picture of the model we just watched, or we just looked at.
Yeah, it's just a thing of perspective.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, actually, know what you mean. Yeah, the old Christmas miniature, the one you're referring to, that's the infantry model, that thigh looks really long.
It is super long.
Very long.
It's hard to see on the squig-mounted one.
Yeah.
But I know what I do see what you mean. Now you point it out. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I just was referring to the old one. Sorry, didn't make it clear.
No, it's fine.
But still, I have really weird mixed feelings about I'm super glad that there's a new Red Gobbo thing coming out, and I'm also really glad that because to get into my headcanon for a second, I'm sorry for being self-indulgent.
It's all right.
It's all right.
But sort of the way I do my Rebel Grots and the fact that I have a Red Gobbo is that I treat it that the Red Gobbo as an idea is something that can manifest in any orc population like mechs or any other kind of specific orc does, where it's built into their genetics of how, their weird genetic memory thing that greenskins have.
Yeah.
And so I sort of treat that can happen as that. So a Red Gobbo can appear sort of anywhere. There's not one Red Gobbo. I mean, there's never just been one Red Gobbo, but
You better watch out. You better not cry. Red Gobbos can be anywhere. Be prepared.
But the fact that this one is a new Red Gobbo appearing somewhere other than Gorkamorka is that's fun. That's kind of almost reinforcing the way I interpreted it, which wasn't based on anything in lore at all. It was just how I chose to do it. So it's kind of fun that that's actually become kind of a thing in a roundabout way.
And we were talking with Nate Crowley a couple of episodes ago about the idea of the this is Makari now type thing in the Gazkul novel. This idea that just because the orcs say something is a thing, that thing occurs, which has been a thing for a while. Combine that, just you say you are, therefore you are, or they say you are, therefore you are, and the idea of shared genetic memory and heritage and things like that with the Brain Boys, it makes sense that the Red Gobbo could pop up anywhere, because if any grot, there must be grots all over the galaxy have heard of the Red Gobbo and never been anywhere near Gorkamorka. So it makes sense that the Red Gobbo could pop up anywhere and from anyone if the right circumstances came together.
Absolutely right.
It should be pointed out that the story is actually not that dissimilar. It's a bit shorter in terms of Rebel Grots on Gorkamorka have a longer origin story about being left behind on Gorkamorka if the orcs ever leave type thing. Have I got that right?
Yeah. They were rebelling basically because they found out that all of their toil wasn't actually going towards them being allowed to get on the big Gorkamorka rocket. What is it? I can't remember. There's it's tags for all or something, because that was what they were after more than anything else, was that they could be allowed to actually leave because they were going to get left behind.
Yeah. Whereas this one is that a ship. There's a problem on a ship, and the grot just has to make decisions for themselves. But it seems to come from mech boys either not around or doing things grots don't like equals Red Gobbo for the second time. Because obviously Gorkamorka is based around Mechtown, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is where I would have just had Rem explain all of this for me, but I haven't got Rem.
It's been a while since I've read it, but yeah, I've because it's in the Digger Knobs book, so. Not many people.
Wow, that was said and no one channeled the meme. Wow, we have really matured on this podcast. No one made a joke.
Yeah, think about it.
But yeah, it was in that book, and it's actually, that book's kind of a pain in the ass to get hold of now. A lot of the time, it doesn't come up cheap very often. So
right,
yeah, I can bet.
I got the Gorkamorka books cheap relatively easily, but yeah, trying to get that one. Oof. But yeah, there's not that much, but yeah, there's just enough lore there for you to have fun with. So it's cool to see it getting revisited, because it hasn't really been revisited at all. Because they've brought him back as a Christmas miniature, obviously, and there's
twice now.
Yeah, and there's something to be said that it's a bit weird that they take one of their explicitly socialist-based characters and make them a symbol of a holiday that's become increasingly consumerist. But
were we talking about something about satire at the beginning of this podcast?
Yeah,
we were.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, it's been cool to see him come back, and hopefully, eventually, this might mean we get a proper red gobbo that's not a Christmas miniature one day again. That'd be really nice.
Have to put that in the Orc Codex, and that would mean they'd have to formalise Rebel Grots as an actual army.
Oh, I would love. Please, Games Workshop, please. If I don't ask much of you, well, actually, I ask a lot of you, and you disappoint me every time, but.
If you want Wib to say something nice about you yet again, as we have done already once in this podcast, please.
Make Rebel Grots an army that don't stink.
Make them an army that doesn't have a rule that mean that they smell.
They can smell like roses.
I just want my Rebel Grots to be good. Just once.
Just once and then never again.
I'll be happy. Just one shining moment where I'm not going, wow, this was a lot of effort to lose every battle. I knew what I was getting into. This is wholly my fault.
But if you are an Orc player who actually does like winning games, then you may wish to turn your attention to this month's White Dwarf, which I meant to pick up today, and I didn't. Because there's actually a bunch of Orc rules in there.
Ooh.
So in Killzone Octarius 2, there was a bunch of rules for a speed mob, the Blood Axes got their own codex supplement, etc. But in this War Speed Freaks article in White Dwarf, you get data sheets for unique HQ units, and I haven't read it yet, so I'm ready to be disappointed, but can there be a Wazdaka Guts mech? Maybe? I'm not expecting it, but maybe. Please.
Games Workshop yet again. If you hear this kind of plead over here.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like Wazdaka was the first character that I actually I built an army around Wazdaka, and that army served me for 8 years. So
Wazdaka is a phenomenal thing that I would love to see come back. He would, yeah. He's great.
There's also a bunch more of heresy lore in there. It was actually quite a good article in last month's White Dwarf about the heresy. I've kind of forgotten most of what was in it now because it's been like 3 weeks since I read it. But it was a good article. I remember reading it and enjoying reading the Chronicles of the Horus Heresy article that sort of led up to, I think it was talking a lot about the Great Crusade and things like that. So it was really good reading. It's kind of like a timeline mostly, which is all stuff you know. If you know, you know. But it's really good getting people who are heresy players or not heresy players aware of what happens in the heresy without having them buy the heresy games. And I do kind of need to have, it's not a rant, but they're kind of cheating on a lot of AOS armies by not giving them new battle tomes. They're kind of cheating. Right. So
I was going to say, usually I'm happy when I don't have to buy new books.
Usually.
But basically, this is the third time that an army has been given something called the Tome Celestial for Age of Sigmar. And normally the Tome Celestial in the past was for sub-factions within an army. So, for example, Almazul the Heldenhammer, which is a sub-faction of Stormcast, got some additional optional rules within a White Dwarf. The most recent installments of the Tome Celestial have been Sons of Behemoth, Seraphon, and the Cities of Sigmar. All of these have included grand strategies, which are like game-long objectives that you can complete for victory points, battle tactics, which are turn-long objectives that you can complete for victory points, updated rules, such as mount traits, or updated faction rules, even, as well as sometimes new relics or things like that. Essentially, they are a battle tome update in White Dwarf.
Okay.
And whilst I'm not saying that, this would be an acceptable reason to release a new battle tome, for 4 pages worth of rules changes. I'm not. But it feels like, okay, we don't want to release a new Cities of Sigmar battle tome. We'll just shove it in White Dwarf with a couple of minor patches so that it's a little bit more AOS 3 compatible. Like, Sons of Behemoth needed it because they were A, recent, and B, completely incompatible with the new objective rules because they couldn't win. Or the other way around, can't remember which. So that needed to be changed. But Cities is a big army with a lot going on. And rather than update the battle tome or put some new miniatures in there, which, by the way, Cities have never had an up-to-date model. They've just had the new Witch Hunter miniatures, which are probably supposed to go in that book. Actually, they are. There was a chance to do a new battle tome, release a few new miniatures of Beast Hunters and Flagellants and type things like that for the Dawnbringer Crusades. 4 pages in White Dwarf, that'll do.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, it's a minor thing, but imagine, let's say, a scenario where the Chaos Space Marines 2 Wounds update, as well as updated, maybe a couple of Crusade rules, a couple of updated relics and things like that, was put in White Dwarf rather than a new codex. Imagine Chaos Space Marine players being told, yeah, you're not getting a new codex, you're getting a 4-page update in White Dwarf. Have fun this edition.
I mean, there's quite a few factions that have had that happen to them over the years, so...
Yeah. But I can imagine how frustrating that is.
Yeah, I've never been the one on the end of that, so I've never had to experience it. I've just seen it happen to other players, like, who, you know... It's a funny one, because, yeah, you know, at the end of the day, it's... We all want our books to be up to date.
Yes.
And for a lot of reasons, that is increasingly not happening.
Yes, we discussed this earlier with the dragons.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, unless they release everything perfect the first time, which one would say that is impossible, but also they could do better than they currently are.
It is impossible, but you should at least try.
It's, you know, we want to go for, like, the Emperor's Children, the ones who didn't turn out to be lunatics, who were like, no, perfection's a good thing to strive for, knowing you'll never achieve it, but, you know, you try. You know, that would be nice, rather than just, close enough, it's fine, we'll patch it later. It's like, you're not Steam, you can't do this.
That's a very good comparison.
Like, I don't want... Honestly, when I found out that I was getting day 1 patches on my codexes, I was a very, very upset person.
I can imagine.
But, you know, there are some times, like, especially when an edition changes, and, like, at the end of the day, like, it kind of makes sense just if you've just got, like, a couple of pages of things to do, it's not really worth doing an entire new book for. Like,
yeah.
if you've not already got plans to, like, do a new release and a revitalization of that army, then that, at least it tides people over rather than... I mean, granted, I would say you should just put them out as an FAQ online so then you don't have to buy a White Dwarf, but that's because I do everything to avoid buying modern White Dwarfs. I only read White Dwarfs from 20 years ago. That's apparently what I do. But, yeah, to be honest, I'd feel more put out by the fact that I had to go out and buy a magazine for 2 pages. So...
Yeah, I know it's kind of petty and a little bit silly. It's like, yeah, I'm getting rules updates for an army that I play, but it's 2 sets of mount traits, a couple of matched play rules, and a campaign that is completely irrelevant. So it's probably about a page worth of rules, or 2 if you stretch out the text boxes. Yeah. It's 2 pages. And if that's have fun for this edition with 2 pages... I get a new battle tome every edition would actually probably be a worse thing because it means spending a lot more money. But I don't know. Like, if you're gonna update the game in a way that requires you to balance patch everything, then you need to get the updates out A, quickly, and B, free. Do you remember the index era of Warhammer 40,000? Which was just a nightmare for any army that didn't get a codex within the first 8 months because everyone else was good and all the index armies were bad, pretty much. So, yeah, we've seen what happens when they do these sort of game-changing rules updates. I don't know. It put me out a little bit that it's the third army to receive a balance pass of 4 pages rather than, a proper battle tome update.
I mean, it could be worse. You could have been a Sister of Battle player for any time before the last year.
Hey, they had a White Dwarf code. Actually, yeah, they had a White Dwarf codex that completely invalidates my argument. It wasn't even a 1 month White Dwarf codex, it was a 2 month White Dwarf codex. That's went 2 White Dwarfs for that codex.
The Sisters have had basically every half-assed version of something before the new ones.
Yep. Ah, well, yeah. Sorry, that was just one that it was bugging me when I read the article. So I thought it was.
It's fine. It is your platform. You may rant as much as you wish.
Indeed, we're here for you, dearie.
We cannot, nor wish to stop you.
Indeed.
Well, I tell you what. Let's cheer all of ourselves up, and let's talk about armies on parade and look at some pretty miniatures.
Yeah.
Yay!
So. I'm not going to go through putting every single picture of every single army on screen. I will probably put the winners up so that you can have a look at those. But I will try and remember, if you're really interested in seeing all of this stuff, it is on Warhammer Community. It is an article posted on the 20th of November if you want to go and have a look through all of it yourself. But there are some truly wonderful projects in here that are genuinely gorgeous. Like there's a Lumineth project made... by Andrew Long from who's a Warhammer staffer. Eddie Eccles has his Orc army, which looks to have a Morkanaut mounted on the back of a Squiggoth.
Yeah, it looks very old epic in like its vibrancy of colours and things. It's a very fun looking thing.
Agreed. Tyler Mengel has contributed a Nighthaunt army that look very, very nice, including some really nice conversions as well. Actually, the main Sorcerer miniature is, I think, based on a Nurgle miniature as its baseline, though I'd have to, come speak with Tyler or have Tyler talk about it another time.
Isn't that that one? That's the. I was looking at it and I was thinking, isn't that a Cruel Boy? But
it's the Swamp Caller Shaman. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking of the Maggotkin Sorcerer. No, that's the Swamp Caller Shaman. You are right.
Sorry, I was really uncertain there because I'm used to you just knowing more about Age of Sigmar than me. So I was just like, wait, oh my god, is this the one time I'm going to be right about something?
Yes, you were right.
Yay!
Now, as for the winners themselves, Warhammer 40k, third place went to a Sisters in a Ruined City, led by Celestine with a very big statue in the back. Second place went to Necrons in Paradise, which is got some really cool things. A Void Dragon, some really cool like Necron gem stalagmites or stalactites? Which one hangs down and which one points
Stalactites
up?
hang down on the ceiling. Stalagmites are in the ground. Stalactites have to hang on tight to the ceiling.
That's
how I remember.
Whereas you might trip over a stalagmite. Yeah.
I just think mighty because it's like in the ground, like a.
That makes sense. Yeah. And the winner was a Gene Stealer cult base, which looks suitably final bossy.
It does kind of look like it belongs in Doom, it's true.
That's a proper Doom arena.
Yeah.
And a really nice quote down the bottom as well. So is humanity's seed cast far and wide beyond the knowledge of man to thrive bitterly in the darkness, to take root and cling with robust and savage determination. Yeah. Imperium in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And some very nice miniatures in there as well. It's actually a thought of the day from the 3rd edition rulebook, which I've just learned.
Neat.
That's what the quote bar says, so I'm going to trust the quote bar.
I've just noticed it's got the old Space Hulk dead Terminator on the throne.
Yes, so it does.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but behind that miniature, is that the Goblin King from the Hobbit box game? But, like, mechanized?
So now it really is the Goblin King of the Darkstorm Galaxy.
I don't know. It's what it made me think of, anyway.
It's not. There's not like a shot of it where it's in focus, so I can't really make it out.
No, unfortunately. For Age of Sigmar, the Sons of Behemat, led by Kragnos, took 3rd place with some very nice pseudo. I'm trying to remember which bits are conversions and which ones aren't because the Mega Gargant kit is so blooming Titanic. But you've got them. In 2nd place, a Soul Blight Gravelord's army, and if you thought the Slanesh pictures from earlier were where'd you put your eyes?
A little bit, yeah.
Camouflage.
It is proper camouflage skeletons. And the winner was basically the same problem with Sylvaneth in a forest led by Alariel. But Steve Lamoureux's army looks very... And I really like the sort of wellspring of life waterfall effect that they've got going on in there.
Absolutely.
And I will say that one's allowed to be a little bit more blending in because it is literally trees in a forest. So
yeah, it's trees in a forest. You didn't have to make the water green, but I know. But it's the realm of life, so make the water green all you like.
There's a lot of life in the water.
But it looks really convincing. Like, genuinely, you glance at that and you'll be asking, did they actually put water in that? Because it really looks like water.
It isn't really
It looks like it looks like water with like little green spotlights underneath.
I
actually thought it was water.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out. It's very well done, regardless.
It's exceptionally well done.
There's bubbles underneath the waterfall. Goodness, they look good.
And there's shadows from the caves as well. They've actually modelled the shadows as well. It's just,
in before they actually tell us, that's actual water that I have over there. And we're like, oh, really?
No, but even the shadow effects look like actual rock cave overhangs with shadows underneath them. They look genuinely incredible.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where there's a lot of subtle work done there that really that elevate it from just being I'm just going to dry brush this thing,
Yeah, it really does trick your eyes without any uncanny valley.
It's one of those ones where I'm like, I want to see that one in real life. Like, I want to look around the nooks and crannies and
and I want to poke it to check if it's made of plastic.
I'll be like, I want to poke it, but I probably shouldn't. But,
why are you dunking your hand into my Armies on Parade board? It's
because
science.
it looks wet.
I want to see if it's wet.
Yeah. In Best of the Rest, 3rd place went to a Necromunda Venators gang with some Beastmen, a Tech Priest, some Skitarii, some more Necromunda miniatures, some Rogue Trader Inquisitor models, a real nice mix of scraggly stuff.
I was going to say, is there anything in there that isn't converted?
There might be a Chaos Cultist bottom left. I'm not quite sure, though. It's got a very John Blanche vibe to it. I know I say that a lot about a lot of things, but I really do get the John Blanche vibes in terms of the art style that they've gone for.
Yeah.
And the colours.
It's very much of that type of era of the game.
Kind of muted yet bright. Which is a weird combo to say, but you know what I mean.
No, we do.
There is like there's when it comes to the grim dark, there is a definite version of it that's not just grim dark. There's the vibrant grim dark of like 2nd edition,
Yeah, absolutely.
Because even like the glowing plasma cells in the hang on a minute, is there such a miniature as that Adeptus Mechanicus skull in a circle? Because there probably is, but it really reminds me of the Noctilith crown. But then where would you get a skull that big and mechanicized? I don't know.
There was a bit of terrain, I don't know if they still make it, that looked like that.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm pretty sure. I didn't have it, so I can't. I thought it was that big, but I've not seen one in person, so I might be wrong. But
that's fair.
Also, that blood over there, like not right underneath the skull, but underneath the
On the
skull,
wall, yeah.
on the wall. It looks wet. It's like someone was just killed there.
Yeah, it's like they've removed the corpse, kind of, because they think that may be giblets. But, yeah.
Environmental storytelling.
Gasp.
And speaking of storytelling, second place went to the charge at Helm's Deep.
Yeah, no, that's like, that thing is great just from a recreation standpoint and doing like the light strip behind. Like,
heck yeah.
That's really cool. I'm not even like a big fan of Lord of the Rings or anything, but like that's really cool.
I am, and I love it.
Good.
Well, you've got both sides of the equation then, both saying it's good. So good work, Paul Stahl. You've pleased everybody.
But sadly, you came second to Mark David Hitz and his Necromunda diorama, which I believe is supposed to tell us a Cal Jericho story. Yes, Cal Jericho is on that board. And again, that's sort of that grimdark vibrancy. And that vat of, I'm assuming, is acid. Like, I don't want to touch that.
I will say, I really appreciate that in the underground part, there's a close-up on it. There's some 3rd edition multi-part GW trees. Like the weird little palm trees. And I appreciate that.
Didn't even notice. Goodness.
Yeah, it's a really impressive sort of layout, and yeah, I really, really am impressed with that in terms of all the things they've done and all the detailing. Again, you believe it to be real.
Yeah, yet again, this vibrant grimdark.
And they've put, like, there's a shipping container, the red shipping container in the middle. It looked like they put, there's like tassel things they put to like try and the sort of semi-transparent tassel jobbing out on the inside of shipping crates that you walk through to get inside.
Yeah.
They've modelled those in as well, which is
I hadn't noticed that. Yeah,
it's a lovely piece of attention to detail.
That's a very good one.
So yeah, a very, very impressive.
There were also little bridge over there on the left, like made out of scrap metal, like over that. I assume acid puddle.
Oh yeah. I see it.
That like brilliant, a brilliant idea to have there. Like, yeah, well, accidents happen, but yeah, we do like this when these things happen.
Agreed. There were then a few Judges' Choice Awards. So the Lord of the Damned Award, which looks like it walked straight out of 2nd edition with that colour scheme. And has an actual honest to God stained glass window of the Emperor. Like, how?
Dedication.
I like how they also have a Ghost Rider.
Well, of course, you have to have your Nicolas Cage there.
Yeah, he's gonna get off that bike and then he's gonna piss fire in that second movie we all pretend doesn't exist.
Of course.
There was the Artificer of Chaos Award, which includes a Stonehorn War Shrine conversion as one of its centerpieces. Though I can't really tell what anything is because there's so many models and it's so busy. I can't actually tell what's what or who's who from this picture.
There is not enough pixels in that JPEG to make out individual things.
No, there are not. The Big Mech Award with a Mega Dread conversion and just like, yes, please, I'll take 20.
I love
like, isn't that Gazgul's head?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's Gazgul's head.
But honestly, I feel like that whole thing, like if I turn my back to this one, it's going to move. Like there's going to be no miniatures when I look back.
They were going to scurry off.
Yeah, like, yeah, freedom!
There was the Chief Necromancer Award, which went to James Stone, and again, I cannot tell what is going on, because everything blends in. I think I can see a Mortis engine, I can see a conversion made out of, I can't even tell what that monster is for the top hero, because it's not a dragon. Actually, no, I own the dragons. And it's not a Dread Abyssal. The angle of the tail is all wrong, and there's got too smaller legs for a Dread Abyssal. I don't know what that mount is or what it's made out of.
It could have been made out of some sort of Necron pod, perhaps? Or then an Nazgul or something.
I mean, they're Marathi's wings. I know those wings are Marathi's. Oh, it's Marathi! It's Marathi's tail and Marathi's wings, and then what looks like some sort of skeletal monster built into the middle, and an old wyvern's head on the front by the looks.
That looks badass.
I do love, I mean, it's a little hard here because of obviously how small the actual image you're looking at is, but I do love looking at conversions and playing, what kit does that bit come from? What bit does that kit come from?
It's great fun. And finally, the Favoured of Tzeentch Award, and I don't even know where to begin.
It's a freaking book.
It's a book. Their army display board is a freaking book.
I like that because normally, like, it's literally kind of thinking outside of the box. Because normally these things are all presented as being, this is an in-universe thing. Like,
yeah.
Whereas this is trying to do something a little bit fancier, a little bit, working with some kind of...
I could honestly imagine going into the warp space and being like, what the hell, am I on a book? Oh, goodness, there's like Tzeentch's everything.
Or even being in a corrupted library, and instead, you know how sometimes you have drawings of these mythical creatures? No, this is a book where the drawings have come to life.
Like, oh, what is this? A little light night reading. Whoop-diddly-doo.
Or alternately, both of those things are simultaneously true.
Oh, God.
Tzeentch.
You just happen to end up into warp space, or end up in warp space when you open the book.
And you open the book and you see these things, but it is also a thing that is physically happening in warp space.
Yeah. Also, you see yourself there.
So basically, it's just Jumanji.
Yeah.
Yes. What we're saying is that we want more Jumanji.
Yes.
I've not seen the new ones, otherwise I'd make a joke about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson being in Jumanji, but I have not seen them, so I cannot.
Well, I think he'd go, I presume that, like, what he would say is, what can I say except we're dead soon?
I swear that's an actual line from the film.
It is an actual line from Moana.
Thought so. They also showed off a few tournament best painted armies from the last year, including Lord of Change Santa.
Yeah, that's adorable.
So yeah, just a real good showcase of just what people can do with the hobby. I admit Armies on Parade is something I would always love to do, Armies on Parade, but I'm also completely aware that I would never get anywhere doing Armies on Parade because, like, I can paint terrain, I can paint miniatures. Can I create a convincing Armies on Parade board? No.
Not yet.
I've been really tempted to do it, like with my grots, because they've got like a theme going on. I thought that'd be a fun thing, and
do it.
I will do it at some point. I might try and do it next year.
Yeah. Do it.
I won't get very far because I'm not very good, but it seems like a fun experience to have. It's a bit like one year I do want to enter Golden Demon. I know I won't get very far, but I just want to have done it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You have our blessings and, acceptance for this endeavour.
I'm glad I have your permission.
Yes. You have two teachers here saying, go ahead, dearie.
Thank you.
As long as you have a hall pass.
Oh, shit.
Oh, dear. I admit, I know we've talked for an hour and 40 minutes about news and things, and there's some people who join this podcast, who used to watch this podcast for the lore discussions and the questions. I apologise for that, but
I don't.
Well, okay, I do, but I don't. I know we would normally be talking about Warhawk if Ren was here and carrying on that story, and we would probably be discussing other stories. It's just one of those things where, as someone who loves to read, I just don't have the time. But I have, actually, on the back of Nate Crowley coming on the show, because we were talking about the Gene Stealer Cult novel and its author, Adrian Tchaikovsky. I actually went, and it's sat at the post office at the minute, so I need to go and get it tomorrow. Children of Time, which is Adrian Tchaikovsky's sort of the novel series he's famous for. So I've actually bought Children of Time, so I might try and read that at some point if I ever get the chance.
If it helps, I've started reading God Emperor of Dune, which is almost a 40k book.
Yeah, have any of you seen the new Dune film?
I haven't. I want to because I I have a weird relationship with Dune where I'm like, I don't like it per se, but I know that one day there's going to be an adaptation of it that will be my favourite thing in the world. And that already exists. It's called Warhammer 40,000, but... It's
a very good adaptation. I've heard about it.
I have a fascination with it, and I'm currently reading the one in which a primary character is a giant worm man.
Oh, you're reading
so that's
that one.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
I read the first 3 years and years ago. I just never got around to reading any further beyond that, and so I thought, with the new movie coming out, there was some like cheap paperbacks in HMV, so I went and bought a couple of them. So I've got the next two. So they're almost 40k books. I'll be reading those.
Yeah, I haven't.
I would be reading the Red Gobbo book, but it's not arrived yet.
You should go to the post office at one point or another, like, please, on the first day of Sanguinala.
Please give me my communist goblin book, please.
Yeah, we actually, relating to that Dune thing, we have a thing going on with one of my RP groups in which one of us reads out loud, like we're doing this on Discord, like one of us reads out loud Dune to us, and we put others, like the other ones participate in a GIF game. We have a special channel in which we put GIFs, like, yeah, go ahead, like relating to the story. And after each chapter, our narrator is like, okay, that was a chapter. And we're like, yes, but go see the GIF game, go see the GIF game, go see the GIF game. And we kind of have a little bit of a competition there, like which GIF is the best one according to the narrator. And we are constantly trying to like outdo each other. And that's just the most wonderful and wholesome hobby one can have. One reads out loud a book and other ones are like, yay, GIFs.
That sounds adorable.
It's definitely a way of doing it, for sure. I admit, it's nothing I think I would do personally, but then again, I've never really tried enough with the RPGs to get into it.
You should.
I know, it's all down to time.
Yeah, that's my problem as well nowadays.
Also, I stumbled on an article that I forgot was there. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the Abaddon Spider?
Yeah, somewhat.
When a new discovered Australian spider was called Abaddon Spoliator. Well, the doctor who gave it that name, Shahan Derkarabitian, I probably completely butchered the pronunciation, I'm really sorry, Doctor, has written an article for Warhammer Community analysing the spider breeds involved in the Warcry warband.
Really?
Really.
I missed that. Goodness gracious.
Excellent.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, so for example, the Doom Weaver, who has the trident and net, is very reminiscent of the net casting spiders who make rectangular nets and this sort of thing, and trying to analyse which types of spider each of the bits come from and which breed of tarantula they've painted the spiderlings as, and so on and so on. So yes, I just stumbled upon that article while I was just flicking through Warhammer Community, and
that's cool
and wholesome.
In so much as, analysing spiders for, it's your mileage will vary on how adorable that is depending on your mileage with spiders.
Yeah, sometimes
and adorableness are not the same thing,
True.
Sometimes I forget that people are terrified of spiders.
I don't. I used to be.
Because I find a lot of them very cute. Have you ever seen whip scorpions? Those are something that I can't help but find cute, even though I'm aware that objectively they're terrifying.
I haven't. Let me Google them.
It's mostly because the first time I saw them was one of them trying to grab someone's hand and failing dismally.
Aww. Oh, those are those buggers.
Yeah. But when you see how ineffectual they are at trying to, get at someone, you go, bless them.
I'm trying to be terrifying.
Yeah, they're trying to be so scary and failing so bad. This is where I find out they're horrendously, venomous and and are actually very dangerous. But when has an animal being dangerous ever stopped humans finding them cute? Like, half of human history is going, that animal is cool. What if it was my friend?
True.
And sometimes that results in things like us having dogs and cats, and other times it results in some guy getting mauled by a tiger, Swings and roundabouts.
Well, technically,
and then
that's
sometimes
also
some mad bastard thinks, hey, we can just rewrite the rules, and then we get Kids of the White Bear Cavalry.
True.
Because I can't imagine real life bear cavalry ever being a thing.
Yeah.
We can dream. Well, we can dream.
Indeed. The only other thing that was really of note in terms of news was, and I know I'm still talking about news an hour and 40 minutes into the show, go away, is Age of Sigmar Tempest Fall, the Beer Lord Arcanum VR game, is now out. I do not have a VR headset, therefore I have not played it, but it's a thing. It's there. If you like your VR, or you've played it, please do let us know. It's available on Steam VR, Viveport, and Oculus Rift if you are interested.
I'm glad that, I don't know if it's been released wider now, but I know the Sister of Battle one, at least when it was first released, that was like Oculus only, and I was like, well, okay, I guess I'm not playing it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I admit I haven't really looked too much on the video gaming side of things of what's been coming out and whether any of it's been any good. I know Necromunda Hired Gun was considered good, but that's about all I know.
We played it on stream a while back. All I'll say is it was a bit overwhelming at times because the UI was designed by... you know how Alan Moore is like a weird warlock who lives in a cave and occasionally makes a comic?
Yeah.
I presume whoever did the UI was like that. Because it is an arcane conundrum to work your way through. And I don't believe anyone who has seen a normal UI ever was involved with its creation. And I know that for a fact because it was made by the people who made I Divine Cybermancy, which is a game completely incoherent and impossible to understand.
Oh dear.
Which is why, it means it's very charming, and I totally understand why it has its fans. But oh my god, is that an incomprehensible game to just saunter into? Hired Gun is, by comparison to that, mainstream as hell and easy to understand.
And even then, the UI is a nightmare.
Oh yeah, the game's cool though. I've been meaning to actually play it properly. So I played it on stream and got a bit overwhelmed with it, and I keep meaning to go back to it and actually give it like a fair shake off stream, because when you play on stream, it's quite hard to pay attention 100% when a game's like not just kind of a passive experience.
Yeah.
Sometimes it requires a little bit more of your brain than you can give when you're also paying attention to a chat and being entertaining at the same time.
True.
Unless you're a good streamer, which I am not, so
Speaking of which, I think you guys have a stream to prepare for after this, and I don't want to deprive you of your dinner before that happens. So,
I've got an hour beforehand. It's fine. Don't worry.
Oh, by the way, now that I remember, Tack, can I be a horrible person and perhaps have you put another picture up on the screen for the viewers?
Depends on what it is.
Because you remember, you guys, when I said that someone should draw a picture of this kind of a person with the books.
Have you been doing that for the last hour?
Not the last hour, last 15 minutes. There you go, it's in the chat.
Excellent.
Couldn't resist.
Beautiful. Perfect.
Yeah, that can go on screen. Yeah, that can go on screen, all right. And then, by all means, put it on Twitter where people can actually look at it properly.
Okay, I shall.
Right, I'll have a quick look at the questions, see if there's any that don't require Remleiz to be here to answer them. Not because I don't think it's relevant. Just there's certain things I can't do. Okay. What are your thoughts if GW made models and rules for all of the Primarchs, but for 40k? If only to have such things be playable without necessitating canon lore reasons. Like, should we have more 40k Primarch models? Yay or nay? I guess.
I mean, I'd like to. There's a few that I think could be fun to bring back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's nothing really to stop him bringing back, say, like Russ or whatever. Like, I'm just having him pop out the warp and go, "What? I was only gone 15 minutes. Like, what's happened?"
I was in a super warp with Drago.
I popped out for some milk, got the milk, came back, and it's been 10,000 years.
Yeah, and you've ballsed it all up, haven't you? Wow, this is a mess. I mean, granted, wasn't that was basically like what I remember of reading Dark Imperium was. Was Gilliman going, "You've cocked it all up, lads."
I was brave for 5 freaking minutes.
Yeah, when Gilliman gets out of his travel vehicle and is walking into the Imperial Palace, and the crowds are fawning and trying to swarm him, in the Space Marines trying to keep them back. And if you look at Gilliman, he's like 1,000-yard stare. Like, what the hell have I just walked into?
My favourite part was when he was like saying, "I've just given up telling people to stop when they quote myself at me, and I'm saying, but I never said that."
Or I've stopped correcting them on when they tell me when I'm a saint or a god or something. It's like, or the emperor being a god, and I'm just gonna let them have this one. I can't be bothered. Just more convenient if they believe it.
Like, whatever.
Just Gilliman being done with it is very funny. And I think if you do that with, I know this is not a rule thing, this is just a law thing, but having Russ come back and doing that, I think would be funnier, because he would tell them all to piss off all of the time.
Yeah. For the last time, I am not a god. For the last time, Dad is not a god. Dad is an idiot.
And then he'd pick up whoever said it and literally hurl them 100 feet.
Yeah, just like, "I am just done with your nonsense today. Yeet.
Out the window you go. Defenestration.
And they land in the town square in the midst of this screaming crowd, and like, "Oh my god, Russ has gone crazy!" And they're trying to scream for the Arbitrace, and the custodians have to come out and just be like, "Everyone calm down. Calm down. Russ is fine. We're all fine. Just go back to your domiciles. Please just disperse."
Russ is mad because he can't go and get drunk at the bar without everyone mobbing him.
Yeah, true.
Russ is mad because he can't get drunk, period.
Well, he tries. He's like Wolverine. He knows it doesn't really work, but he tries.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I there's a bunch that I think would be totally fine to bring back, and I would like to see him. It would be cool, rather than just it just being Gilliman.
Yeah. And like, if you don't want to have it as a 40k game, it could be a 30k game.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yes. It's fine. It's one of those, and especially like you could always say, "Oh, it's one of those ones that happened after the heresy when the Primarchs are still knocking around for a little while."
Yeah, it's the scouring.
Yeah. And a bunch of them were still around. I mean, maybe not like Ferrus Manus. And
we have a model for Ferrus Manus. There are a couple of things missing.
Just a few.
Yeah.
You call up Forge World, they go, "There's a few pieces missing from a model," and they go, "No, it isn't."
Cost of the model, £100.
I had one, then I lost it, then I found it, then I lost it.
Okay. It was just like, it was an awkward...
awkward silence is awkward.
Yeah. Tac's going to say it in a second.
I know, awkward silence, I'm sorry. Actually, there was one here that I quite like the look of. It said... Oh God, where's it gone? It said in a novel, I think it was Nightbringer, which is, I think, a slightly older novel now. A Drakari summons fleshhounds. Oh, here we go. In the novel Nightbringer, a Drakari summons a pack of fleshhounds to invade the governor's palace. Fleshhounds, if you've forgotten, are Khornate demons. Are the Dark Eldar able to commune with powers of chaos that just aren't Slaanesh, or is this just more Old Lord jank?
I don't know, because way back, there was just Chaos Eldar, and that's part of, kind of Chaos Eldar and Eldar Corsairs kind of morphed together to make the Dark Eldar.
That's true.
So,
I mean, they do commune with strange entities from other dimensions. I mean, mandrakes say hi. But in terms of demons, but then again, it's not like GW are not against dark elf and equivalent characters working with chaos. Like, Morathi went full Khorne. And there was a time where Morathi was like Slaneshi, I swear. At one point, like, Morathi and the Dark Elf Sorceresses were like very Slaneshi at one point, I swear. I could be wrong, willing to be wrong, but feel like that's right. So yeah, I would lean on it's probably Old Lord Jank, but especially because the Drukhari don't have Psykers and thus cannot access the warp in any capacity, even to just simply, use their power, rip open a warp portal and leg it. They can't even do that. So I'm guessing it is Old Lord Jank.
But then again, if we have something like Lady Malice with the crystal hearth of Chigorak, and technically, like, she might be in some sort of contact with a god, though not like Chaos God, would that make it technically possible for the Drukhari also, if they found some sort of a way to contact a Chaos God, some sort of an object or something, could they do that? Like, bring some flesh hounds in or something?
I mean, mortals being communicated with when they don't have psychic potential is definitely a thing. Even if they're not an out-and-out psychic. I mean, blanks, okay, no. But any mortal with psychic potential can be communicated with by the entities of the warp. Any human can be corrupted, whether they are a psyker or not. And you'd assume the same is true for any Eldari, that they do not have psykers because it will just, suddenly demons in Comor are trouble because Slanesh will just have a field day. But that's not to say that the Drukhari are all blanks. They're not. So could they access a device or be granted powers by a device or a relic of some kind? Probably, yes. I'd assume so.
It's like having a Drukhari field day, like, yay, murdering people, and like hearing voices like, knock, knock, it's Khorne, hello, hello, hello.
I like that kind of polite Khorne.
Me too. Khorne should be more polite.
There's nothing in the lore, I assume, that suggests that he isn't very polite.
Yeah.
Apart from all that stuff that I haven't read, presumably.
Certainly, old Khorne you could probably get away with being quite polite. Modern Khorne and AOS Khorne are ultra-violence the musical.
Yeah, because of the whole, like, god of art, of, like, not just being the god of war and stuff, being, like, honor being pulled into that, of more positive traits.
They've really pulled away from that. Like, the only people who ever mention it are basically Nurgle and Tzeentch worshippers. Are the only ones who ever really mention it. Khorne worshippers are insane, and Slanesh worshippers are insane. So, that's often how they're written. Anyway,
yeah, I kind of prefer the more nuanced take, but yeah.
I understand why they've stepped away from the nuanced take to make chaos undoubtedly evil, but if you're wanting to come back against the beginning with the whole satire thing, it is. Yeah. If you want to make it clear that there are no good guys, there are just different flavors of bad guys, don't make the bad guys according to the good guys ultra mega unrelatable evil either.
Yeah, because when you do that, you do kind of, it's like, well, I mean, yeah, compared to these guys, the space fascists ain't so bad. I'm like, oh, they're still pretty bad. Yeah. As said earlier, it's a complicated subject.
Correct. I'll do one more before we go. We will go with this one. Do you have any theories on what would happen if a Kroot carnivore ate a gene stealer?
It'd grow extra arms.
And some scales. It would get hungry.
Probably, but if the question is, like, does absorbing gene stealer biology, because they are perfect scouts, perfect hunters type thing, but would it then give them a synaptic connection with other Kroot? Would it allow them to be connected to a or the hive mind? Would the gene stealer power possess them and that latent psychic ability that they have? Would a gene stealer gene benefit Kroot society, or damn it to absorption into the hive mind as another just symbiotic race that's been sucked up? And how would the Tau feel about it? Because obviously the Tau are very particular about what the Kroot can and can't eat. Like, no chaos, no Tau, etc. They'll let them eat orcs, they'll let them eat humans, but they won't let them eat chaos humans, and they won't let them eat other Tau, or at least that was the old law. I don't know if it's still true. But that was certainly the rules before.
What I'm hearing right now is that a Kroot-based gene stealer cult army would be a really cool conversion project.
But we need more good Kroot models.
That is true.
True.
We need at least one other Kroot a kit. Ever.
like using the Krootox to make aberrants, or Ridge Runners, and having the carnivores with their weapons or staves, and Shapers to be like the Primus, but then they're also the Magus, so which is it? You do need a few more Kroot minis to make it properly stick, but
that could actually, you could do a really cool thing of them being something that is neither Tau nor like Tyrannid. Like they've got this kind of hive-mindy thing, but it's like a localized one, and they've gone off to do their own thing. But they're going through the method, the whole thing of the gene stealer cult, but it's different because obviously they already have this kind of like genetic absorption thing going on. So yeah, you could do some fun things with that. Games Workshop, look, we've been asking you a lot, and I know you are listening. James Workshop, you yourself are listening. We know this. Do all the things that we say because we think it would be cool, and you will make £1 million bajillion pounds. Probably, maybe, I don't know. I'm not an economist.
And that's a lot of money from what I've heard.
Yeah, that is all of the money, probably.
All of the money? That's a lot.
Yeah. That's a lot. Yeah, definitely. I know about money. I'm very good with my finances. That's why I play Warhammer 40,000.
And on that exceptionally relatable bombshell for all of our viewers at home, I know
I've just started on to getting into Transformers as well. I do everything to make sure I have no money.
But yes, I think on that exceptionally relatable note, I think we will call it time for today.
That's probably sensible.
So that has been episode 136 of Adeptus Podcastus, and it has been an absolute riot. Thank you very much to Naerina and to Wib for joining me today and stepping in on very short notice. It's been really appreciated from both of you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, not a problem. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was. I will try and remember to put all the things I said I was going to put on screen. I get the feeling this is going to be quite a long edit job. Well done.
You'll miss one because you will always miss one. That is the rule of editing video.
Yes, as long as I get the Armies on Parade and Naerina's funny picture, I've done my job. So I will manage. And yeah, so thank you very much for watching, everybody. This has been Tactica Imperialis.
And now we'll find which one of us is going to go first, but haha, I'm Naerina from 40k Theories.
I'm Wib from Snipe and Wib.
And we'll see you all next time. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.